So before the Reformation, pretty much all Christians in Europe were Roman Catholic. Yes, there were other types of Christians in Eastern Europe and Asia and Africa, but Roman Catholicism was the dominant form of Christianity and had been since like the 4th century. The Protestant Reformation broke so-called Western Christendom into 2 and then 3 and then 4 until finally there were uncountable denominations of Christianity. Not just Lutherans, but Apostolic Lutherans and Reformed Lutherans and Free Lutherans and Lutherans for just going back to being Catholic because this has become so complicated. This was hugely important. It changed people's way of looking at themselves and the world. It led to wider European literacy and eventually forced governments to grant religious freedoms, while also at the same time maybe being more of a political revolution than a religious one. So during the European Middle Ages, the Catholic Church really dominated European civilization. It's almost impossible to imagine the scope of the Church's power in the Middle Ages, but let's try. First off, the Catholic Church was the caretaker of the most important thing that Christians had, their souls, which, unlike our temporal bodies, were eternal. And then there was the parish priest, who played a pivotal role throughout every person's life, baptizing them, marrying them, hearing their confessions, providing last rites. The church also provided all of the social services. It distributed alms to the poor and ran orphanages and provided what education was available. And most Europeans would, in their lives, meet exactly one person who could read the Bible, which was only available in Latin: their parish priest. So this was a very powerful institution, and it was undone by one chronically constipated monk. Here at Crash Course, we don't like to get too into like great man history, but the Reformation really was initiated and shaped by one man, Martin Luther. No, Stan, the Martin Luther he was named for. No, Stan, the Martin Luther that he was named for, yes. Okay, let's go to the thought bubble. Luther studied law, and like most law students, he hated it. Then one day, a sudden storm blew up, lightning struck him to the ground, and in a panic, he cried, "Help me, Saint Anne, I'll become a monk." He survived, and in the next 2 weeks, he withdrew from university, entered an Augustinian monastery, took his vows, and sent a message to inform his family, who I'm sure were delighted to have spent all that money on education because monking is so lucrative. Luther was obsessed with his own sinfulness, and he kept confessing incessantly, and finally, his confession and teachers sent him to the University of Wittenberg because, you know, they were a little bit annoyed with him and they figured he'd be good at teaching scripture. Luther finally found his answer in St. Paul's epistles, specifically in one line that said, "The just shall live by faith." In other words, salvation comes through faith, not good works, not through prayer or fasting or vigils or pilgrimages or relics or giving to the poor or the sacraments or any action that a person can take. We can't ever be good enough through our actions to merit salvation. We can only have faith. In Latin, sola fide, only faith.